Panama Papers, they may face criminal conviction, but I don't think their careers are over after that. You know, they might have a very successful career in publishing. So it's, and then I think the final thing is there's also better information available. I spend a lot of time working in Indonesia with companies that own large amounts of land, and the information that's available through satellite tracking about how these companies act, that NGOs have, is incredible, the amount of information. So there is this idea of radical transparency. The second, and as I said, it's definitely linked, is how consumers have kind of reacted to this amount of information. We think it's led to cynicism, in some cases anger, and I think it's just, there's always been an anti-business sentiment, certainly it's been in Spain, and anti-global business in particular. But what has perhaps changed is a lot of the kind of activists have been joined by everyone because this information is so freely available. So we were thinking about this and we thought maybe consumers no longer buy the kind of corporate story anymore. They're not necessarily accepting at face value what brands are saying to them. And in our sense, authenticity is perhaps a way for companies to navigate this era of transparency. So that's why we started on this journey. Now, if we go back to our last study, just before we go forward, we came up with this idea of the angerometer, which is a very consumer-based way of presenting the data. But essentially, this is where consumers said things that made them extremely angry about business behavior. And what we found was, if you were a food manufacturer, you're probably most at risk here, because food being presented in a bad form was the thing that number one consumers across, at that time, 12 markets found as very, making them very angry. The safety of products, and also data collection, how people use data. And that's something that's come through in the 2016 study as well. So in a way, this is a sense of what are inauthentic behaviors, but I think it's quite good to define something by its opposite when you're trying to make an argument like this. So on to the next 20 minutes that I have. I'm going to try with Almudena to answer 4 questions. They are, why does authenticity matter? Is this just a marketing buzzword, or does it have a meaning to consumers? How do consumers then define authenticity? And this is where I think it gets interesting. Then we're going to talk a little bit about authentic brands and how the studies work. And then briefly, I'll suggest some lessons, but I think this is more of a discussion that we could get your views. So the first finding, let's go into the first question, why does authenticity matter? First finding, fairly stark. If you ask consumers about brands being authentic overall, across 14 markets, nearly 80% of consumers do not think brands are authentic. So in a way, we start with this idea of an authenticity deficit. We thought that was an interesting result, so we looked at some other comparable areas, and if I just bring your attention to the one at the bottom, are brands today open and honest? Across 14 markets, only 22% are saying yes. So we have a very high number of 78% thinking brands are neither open nor honest. Now, if we look at the breakdown around markets, around the 14 markets that we studied on that same question, you can see that mainland China and Indonesia are the most positive. But even in those markets, we're finding a pretty significant amount of people not thinking they're open and honest. That goes all the way down to our friends Swedes. Only 5% are polling there. So I'd say that's the most negative market. So 95% of Swedes are saying that brands are neither open nor honest.
Sí, en concreto en España está claro que somos un poquito todavía más escépticos y más cínicos o desconfiados que el resto de nuestros vecinos europeos. Y bueno, si hacemos un detalle de la opinión de los consumidores españoles, de la muestra sobre las marcas, vemos que realmente el factor que destacaba antes Andrew, que decía que las marcas son abiertas y honestas, es el que puntúa más bajito, es decir, hay un déficit claro en ese, digamos, de transparencia, de apertura. si repasamos un poco los diferentes indicadores que hemos destacado, permanecer fieles a los propósitos, tomar responsabilidad sobre las acciones y sobre los actos de las marcas. Bueno, hay una afirmación un poco, quizás muy happy, ¿no? Quizás muy aspiracional, que es hacer del mundo un lugar mejor, ser confiables, decir y contar lo que van a hacer, y mantenerse fieles a una serie de valores. Al final yo me recuerdo un poco a la definición, cuando estaba Enrique comentando la definición tal cual de la palabra autenticidad. Luego nosotros veremos que la hemos agrupado, hemos definido una serie de vectores y una serie de indicadores de lo que significa, pero al final está ahí todo recogido. Básicamente estaba escuchando tus palabras y decías pues eso que es una marca que es lo que parece, es decir, pues que hace lo que dice, que es confiable, que es creíble, que es legítima, decías tú en algún sentido, bueno, que es al final está legitimada de alguna manera para operar, y también que respeta el entorno. Y también a la vez hablabas de una parte más de peculiar o impresionar. Eso quizás lo podemos llevar más al terreno de la comunicación, o al terreno del tono, del mensaje, de cómo se relaciona, de esa honestidad y forma de comunicar de una manera interactuar con los consumidores diferente. Bueno, pues parece que todo esto en España, por desgracia, estamos un poquito, desconfiamos bastante de las empresas en ese sentido.
Okay. But if you remember, the question at the start of this section was why does it matter? Okay, so we found there's a deficit, but why does it matter? So this next slide is trying to answer that question. We think there is essentially a financial incentive for companies here. So when asked, nearly 90% of global consumers say they would intend to reward a brand for its authenticity. Now, how that breaks down is recommendation, loyalty, valuing the brand, and then quite extreme measures whether or not people would want to work for the company, and even if they had the money, would they invest if that company had shares. So net checked any of those, nearly 90%. So we're beginning to see a financial reward for authenticity.
Bueno, en concreto en España esto también lo hilo con las palabras que decía Pablo, comentaba que desde luego tiene que haber otros factores de competitividad para las marcas que no sean una diferenciación a través del precio. Tenemos que ir más allá y creemos que precisamente con este estudio que traemos hoy aquí encontramos que la autenticidad podría ser uno de esos factores de competitividad y de diferenciación, porque si vemos en España son las puntuaciones incluso más altas. Hay una demanda y una necesidad real de esa autenticidad de las marcas y de premiarlas. Estamos deseando hacerlo. Vemos que los factores que comentaba Andrew son incluso un poquito más altos. En España casi el 90% de las personas cambiarían su comportamiento si encuentran una marca auténtica y harían todos estos comportamientos que antes comentaba Andrew, recomendarlos, ser leales, que es esa cúspide, ¿no? Hablábamos de la pirámide, llegar a ese consumidor que es realmente un prescriptor. Trabajar o invertir, o sea que realmente ya no es solo, quizás cuando hablamos de esta serie de factores, convencer a las compañías del valor de ciertos comportamientos, ¿no? Cuando nos remitimos a una esfera en la que se queda todo en un ámbito de valores, un ámbito muy soft, es muy difícil llegar, pero cuando vas con un argumento que afecta al voto online, creo que es bastante fácil encontrar esa puerta de entrada en las compañías. O sea que hay varios motivos para cambiar y para trabajar en la autenticidad.
Okay, so if you look at how that breaks down country by country, what you see, if you remember the previous slide about negativity, if you see what I mean, is even Sweden, where 95% of people are not believing brands are open and honest, they're saying, 75% of the same group are saying that they would reward a brand if they perceived it to be authentic. So you're seeing, I don't know what this is this optimism in consumers? They're saying we don't think we're seeing it at the moment. If we were to see it, we would reward it. So, yeah, exactly, yeah. So that takes us on to our second question. So in previous studies, we just asked about the idea of authenticity. And this year, when we were looking at it, we thought we need to go behind authenticity and look at the brand attributes or behaviors that consumers identify with authenticity.